Well, as you guys know, I make it about me a lot, right? Yeah, that's okay. It's all right. 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 Guilty as charged. Guilty as charged. There is an I in my first and last name.
It's true.
Okay? But I'm a team player as well. And so when Roku says, we've got some live sports going on, I'm like, I'm in. And then I find out that the formula shares the same initial as my last name. Had me at hello. So that's the way I welcome in the CEO of Formula E Racing right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Jeff Dodds, good to see you, sir. How are you?
Rich, yeah, good. Thanks.
Sorry about making it about me to start.
It is about you.
Jeff.
And you've got a best dad ever.
I do.
Sign. And I'm now sitting here wondering why I don't have a best dad ever sign.
Well, you don't have a desk in front of you.
No, but
if
even
you did,
my desk at home, I don't have a sign that says best dad ever.
I think you need one.
My children have got a serious conversation going when I get home.
This is a few quid. Cost a few, I'm sure, for them. It is good to see you.
Thank you.
It's certainly right here on Roku channel, streaming home of Formula E. Pretty cool, man. We're streaming together right here, and you're heading to Portland this weekend, correct?
Yeah, rounds 13, 14. So the last or the penultimate rounds of Formula E's World Championship in Portland. 2 rounds back-to-back on Saturday and Sunday. On an amazing racetrack with a lot of racing history, a lot of IndyCar racing history.
Yes.
So this will set us up for the final rounds in London.
And then you can see that right here on Roku, June 28th through 30th. That's where you can
100%.
watch the Portland race this very weekend, Friday through the end of this weekend. And you recently announced that Formula E is going to go to Miami, right?
Miami, yeah, next year. So big sports-loving city. We've raced in Miami once before in the history. We're only 10 years old, Rich. So
yes.
We've been in New York, in LA, Miami once before, but heading back to Miami. They had the Formula One there this year.
That's right.
And the crowd there, the fan base, beginning to get into single-seater motor cars outside of just IndyCar. So we're going to take advantage of that.
The radio audience just rejoined in the middle of our conversation. Jeff Dodds, the CEO of Formula E Racing, the world's first all-electric FIA World Championship Motorsports Series. And you can catch it right here televised on Roku, the streaming home of Formula E. And I just know when I first heard from everybody in Roku Sports and everybody with Roku and the Roku channel that this deal had been struck, they were jacked up about it. Why did you hook up with Roku?
So the Formula E, founded 10 years ago,
yes.
Wanted to be the preeminent motor racing sport in the world, which is challenging when you've got so many sports like IndyCar over 100 years old,
yes.
Formula One 75 years old. And there are two big markets you've got to crack. So one of those is North America. The other one is China, fastest growing EV market in the world. And we wanted a home. We wanted a home for Formula E in North America. And that means finding one outlet that we can go all in on. And we started speaking with Roku, I think about 18 months ago, something like that. I got talking with David. The teams were gelling well together. They wanted to dip the toe into live sport. And I think personality-wise, we just fit. Very agile, flexible, quite young, quite disruptive. So we gelled and we thought, let's give this a go. And I think we're a year in now, and so far going brilliantly.
Yeah, you're referring to Dave Eilenberg, whose last name also starts with an E.
It does. And David actually used to work at ITV. Obviously a great traditional UK broadcast, although he was based over here in the US. And,
right.
Yeah.
So how did you get involved with Formula E racing?
So my history, half of my life in automotive. So I worked for Ford Motor Company when they owned Volvo many years ago.
Okay.
And then I worked for Honda. And then I left and thought I've left cars behind me, went into media telco. But the owner of the company I worked at was Liberty Global, who were also the largest shareholder in Formula E. And they persuaded me that this would be an exciting adventure to take with them. And they've been right. I mean, I'm a year in, and so far, other than spending most of my life on an aeroplane, other than that, they're right. It's just super cool.
And it's just, again, obviously in this day and age where, things are getting hotter, and that's literal, or wetter, or more of a climate uncontrolled situation, the fact that this is carbon neutral is what it is pretty sweet.
Yeah, net zero from day zero.
Look at you.
That kind of works. I should use that.
Did you just
hold on a second, to a marketing
you didn't just make
poster.
that. You didn't just make that.
No, of course not. I've got an army of people sitting back and write this stuff for me.
Net zero from day zero.
Yeah.
Could you say that about our show as well? Are we net zero?
Well,
we're churning out a lot of content. I don't know.
We're net infinity, really.
Thank you. Oh, my bad.
Since day zero.
Yeah, I should have said that. Yeah. And so that's awesome. And so just explain to everybody, how, for who may not know, how fast these cars go.
Oh, well, so the cars are in their third generation. So in a 10-year history of the sport. And when we started, I'm going to be honest.
Yes, sir.
The performance of the cars wasn't great. This was more about testing the concept of, can you race an electric vehicle? Capped out about 140 miles an hour. Got to 60 miles an hour in about 3 and a bit seconds. So not incredible, not for a racing car. So where we are now, we launched our next generation car in Monaco this year. That will get to 60 miles an hour in about 1.8 seconds. 30% faster than the Formula One car. Goes over 200 miles an hour and does all of that net zero.
And how competitive are the car companies right now to come up with a fourth generation right now and go ahead and do that?
So it won't surprise you. Fourth generation is 2 years away for us. So that car is pretty much baked. So we know what's coming in the fourth generation.
You know what's coming.
Yeah, look, I won't talk about it because it's a little bit secretive at the moment. But
Understood.
As you can imagine, it gets faster, the power goes up, the batteries last longer. So that fourth generation car will be unbelievable in just 2 years' time. It will be unbelievable. But the car manufacturers we work with, Porsche, Jaguar, Nissan, we work with Stellantis, huge global car manufacturer, Mahindra, the Indian brand. We got 2 racing royalty brands in the US as teams. We've got Penske, we've got Andretti. So they're all inputting into this, and we work pretty closely with the FIA, who govern us, and the biggest and brightest brains on electric vehicles working on it.
I imagine so.
Yeah.
Because my wife and I talk about all the time about, getting off the grid and things of that nature.
Yeah.
I've been driving an electric car for about 6 years now.
Yeah.
So I've been off the grid for a while, but we're waiting to get more options, just as somebody else, just as somebody driving around, going the speed limit, of course.
Yeah. Oh,
hands at 10 and 2, all that good stuff. Not looking at our phones. That we're eager to get electric vehicles in certain brands and certain cars, and it's like, it's not going to happen for 2, 3, 4 years. And I'm sitting here thinking about that this is what could potentially unlock the technology and the race, if you will, the speed race, in the similar way that we've seen films like Ford versus Ferrari or anything like that back in the day, that car companies get real serious about being innovative to be first.
Completely right. Look, I talk about, we're a platform to talk about sustainability.
Yes.
But our racetrack is a laboratory. And that's where car manufacturers go out and they test next generation technology that will go into their road cars. And, there's 100 stories I could tell you, but one I love personally.
Please.
So Jaguar learned something on the racetrack about how the powertrain, the motor, so the engine effectively, interacts with the battery. And that they worked out they could make that more efficient with a coding change, by changing some of the coding in the software, which they did, and it worked. And then they did that coding change over the air to everybody who was driving an I-Pace on the road. And those cars got 30 kilometers more range, literally from a software change. So they're learning things on the racetrack and it's going straight into the road car. And obviously there are markets that are leading the way in this. So in the Chinese market today, China, over 100 million fans of our sport in China. I mean, the development of electric vehicle technology in China is unbelievable.
How about that? And on top of all of that, though, you got to have the drivers, right?
Yeah.
And so I'll give you the floor a little bit here on the personalities, because that's another way to get a sport.
The team,
people hooked on
where
it.
the team meets the driver, meets the racetrack, is where the magic happens.
Nice.
And obviously, the broadcaster is what shows that to the world.
Yes.
But you want a racetrack that can show off the potential of the car. Now that could be big and open like Portland or Miami will be. It could be tight, shorter, a tougher test of the driver, something like London. Tokyo was like that. We raced in Tokyo for the first time. And then you're relying on the skill of the driver and the skill of the team. And I would argue, and I include Formula One in this, that as a collective, we have 22 drivers on the grid, that they are the best 22 drivers in the world. You've got ex-Formula One drivers that will go to Formula One. You've got Super Formula from Japan winners. You've got Le Mans winners on that grid. As a collective, you have the most unbelievably competitive group of drivers.
Mm-hmm. And you give me a couple names of people that they should look to see this weekend.
Well,
and I know you're the CEO, and you're the CEO of all the drivers.
Yeah,
I understand
exactly.
that.
I can't have favourites, but I can certainly point you in directions. So You've got the drivers who are leading the championship. So Nick Cassidy. Nick Cassidy's leading for Jaguar at the moment. Nick famously won the Triple Crown in Japan. So when we raced in Tokyo, he's like royalty when he steps off the plane in Japan. Absolutely one of the best racing drivers ever raced in Japan. And it's kind of been kind of the second place for driver for many years in Formula E. Nearly won it, not quite made it, but leading the championship by 25 points as we go to Portland. He's leading from Pascal Wehrlein, the Porsche driver, German driver, unbelievable driving talent. Started the season incredibly hot, started last season incredibly hot, then has gone through a period where it's got a bit tougher for him, but he's bang right there in second place, ready to take charge. And then you've got other drivers, Mitch Evans, again, very famous Jaguar driver, Ollie Rowland, who's on a bit of a comeback tail, driving for Nissan this year. Very sharp elbowed, very aggressive driver on the racetrack. So they're the kind of top four you see. And then we've got some of these wonderful, I'll say old stagers, they'll hate me for it, but we've got some wonderful old stagers. We've got Lucas de Grassi heading towards 40, been there from the very beginning. We've got Jean-Eric Verne, ex-Formula One driver, only driver to ever win the series twice, racing for DS Penske. Sam Bird won in Sao Paulo this year, races for McLaren Racing. Been around from the very start of the championship. So you've got this real mixture of the kind of the professors and the students all racing together. Incredibly competitive, close combat racing. We go into every race thinking we know who should do well on a particular racetrack and being surprised at every race.
Well, I'm probably not telling tales out of school here. Jeff Dodds, CEO of Formula E here. A couple more minutes on the Rich Eisen Show. And those who may not have seen it on Roku, we're talking on the radio to a lot of folks who might not have seen a Formula E event. So for that, does the range of a car, a charge of a car pre-race last an entire race?
So it's a great point. So the cars line up on that grid with roughly half the energy they need to finish the race.
Purposefully? You
Absolutely,
do that on purpose?
Yeah, because part of developing the tech and innovating the tech is learning how to recharge the battery. So those drivers will get half the energy they need for the race over the race by recharging the motor. The
regenerative of braking and things of that nature.
Braking, slowing, the motor spinning,
which
reverse.
is part of the skill to make sure that your charge lasts.
So if you said, let's just take Max Verstappen or let's take Lewis Hamilton, two of the best drivers the world's ever seen in Formula One, and chuck them in a Formula E car, surely they'll win. It's like driving something completely different, because they've got to drive that car really quickly, but they've got to know when to lift, when to brake, how to recharge the battery. Even this year, Ollie Rowland, leading a race, I think in Italy, in Misano, ran out of energy with hundreds of meters to go in the race because he got that bit slightly wrong. The team had got that bit slightly wrong. So this is like playing chess in a 200 mile an hour plus racing car on a track. It's incredibly complicated.
It might, it certainly sounds it.
Yeah.
And so, because you can't just pull off to the side and just
it's not a
charge up.
Exactly right. We do.
Right. It takes some time.
We've got the tech to do that, so we could do that.
Which is what you'd immediately recharge your battery.
We've got the technology whereby, if we wanted to, we could launch it so that you pit stop and you can get 10% of your battery charged, and you drive an EV. So you know how cool this would be in 30 seconds. So in 30 seconds, you could get 10% more energy. So we're working on that tech, but for now, they don't have it, and you can't simply go foot to the floor and win the race from the front, because you would run out of energy halfway around.
Yeah, you would.
Yeah.
You have to figure out how to brake and how to regenerate.
Highly strategic.
So now, by the way, I have found what I'm now going to... I don't ask for much from Roku. I want that technology.
Well, look,
is it portable? Is it portable? Where you'd be able to just have it in the trunk of your car or something like that?
One of those charging things?
Yeah, yeah.
We should talk about that for you. We should get you in a car, first of all,
well, that's
and
true.
let you have a go in a car and get...
When you say have a go, what do you mean by that?
we could put you in a race. This is the other incredible thing about... we could put you in that racing car today.
Yes, sir.
We can dial the power up and down by software, changing the software. As I have done, we could put you in that racing car and you could experience what it's like to drive a car that accelerates that quickly. Mm-hmm. By the way, we do that with a lot of celebs and people like Usain Bolt, who literally scared the life out of him. He said he's the only time he'll admit something's faster than him. We could put you in that car and you could have a go. I'll do that for you. You come to a racetrack.
I will do that. And in the meantime,
how's your insurance, by the way?
No, it's lock solid.
Impeccable.
It's impeccable. Yes, I pay my premiums and my rates and things of that nature. But listen, that technology, of recharging. Now that's
cool,
the
isn't it?
stuff. And so you're saying to try and come up with that for Formula E might lead to actually having something like that in someone's garage.
We're a laboratory. So a laboratory that and here's I know we don't have much time, but combustion engine's 130 years old. The Otto engine, I think it's 1896. We've been developing that tech for 130 years.
Yes.
The first time you saw an electric vehicle really on the road with any scale ambition was 2008. So we're in the infancy of the tech. So what we will see over the next 5, 10, 20, 25 years out of electric vehicle technology will be mind-blowing for all of us. We had one of our former manufacturers, Mercedes-Benz, they did a test on one charge where they drove a car. I think it was called the EQ20, EQXX. They went from Stuttgart in Germany to Silverstone in the United Kingdom, 1,200 kilometers on a single charge to show what the battery is capable of doing. And this is all coming out in front of us, Rich.
Fantastic. And everyone should check it out on Roku, the streaming home of Formula E. The Portland race that we were discussing is on Roku this very weekend, the 28th through the 30th. Season 11, Formula E is going to race in Miami. 17 races across 11 iconic venues, all right here on Roku. Jeff, absolutely a pleasure.
It's
And
my
I
pleasure.
will
Thanks for
have a
having
go. You let me know when
You're
that
done.
go can happen, and I will have it. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.